Peace. Hello, Pam, Lynn, Chris, and everyone else. Donna, Lynn, Mark. All right. So, looks like we're going to be starting here in just a minute. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand. There's the on the bottom of the screen. There's a thing that says "Raise your hand." It's a little hand, and all you have to do is raise your hand. So, this is my first time doing a Zoom chat, so we're trying to figure out how to do things and how not to do them. So once you've raised your hand, letting me know that you're there, you can click that hand again and unraise your hand. And I think we're going to get going here. So I think it's time to get going. All right, here we go. So the question is, can vitamins kill you? And I put it out there because, you know, everybody talks about how vitamins are, and is it something that somebody can take too much of? Can it cause you a problem? But before we get into can they kill you or not, which we will definitely hit on, the question is who here takes vitamins? So if you click on raise your hand for a second, just so I can see how many people taking vitamins. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, there's a bunch of you. Okay, so you can unraise your hand now again. So we're talking about now. The next question is are vitamins good for you? And of course, they can be and they can't be, depending on what kind of vitamins you're doing. And finally, which leads us to the bigger part, which is, do you know what kind of vitamins you're taking? Because that really makes a difference. For example, when it comes to vitamins, there's a difference between synthetic vitamins, crystalline vitamins, natural vitamins, and whole food vitamins. So what we're going to do is we're going to break that down. And the first thing I'm going to tell you or ask you is, which kind do you buy? Do you guys know what kind you buy? I'm not going to make you raise your hand again, but I want you to think about that. What kind of vitamins do you buy? Do you go to Costco? Do you go to Kmart or Walmart? You know, are you going to GNC? What kind of vitamins are you getting? And then again, what kind are they? And you know, a lot of people want to know if the vitamins at GNC are better than the ones at Walmart. Well, here's the deal. If they're synthetic, which we're going to talk about in a second, they're a problem no matter how you do it. So here's what I can tell you. If you look at the word nutrition, okay, now nutrition, taken from the dictionary, says it's the process of nourishing or being nourished, especially the process by which a living organism assimilates food and uses it for growth and for replacement of tissues. Okay, that makes sense? It's also the science or study that deals with food and nourishment, especially in humans. And finally, a source of nourishment, food. So the question is what did we see? What was it that showed up 3 times there? When we talk about nutrition, we're always talking about food, right? Food. So here's what we know. All of the structures and functions of the human body are built from and run on nutrients. Everything that your body does, everything that your body can do, all requires nutrients. I mean, if you took your car and you put gasoline in it, and then you poured some Coke and some ice cream in there, how well is your car going to run? Well, your body is a machine as well. Now, it's not the same kind of machine. It functions totally different. It can adapt that cars can't adapt to, but the deal is that your body has to have the right nutrients and the right things in order to get what it needs to have so it can do what it needs to do. So where do we get the nutrients? Well, from the food we eat, of course, right? Now, a lot of people think that if they eat something natural, that's really good. But the difference between natural and synthetic is the difference between having something that's living and something that's dead. Now, the term natural itself means that a substance is found somewhere on the earth or in the outer space. It doesn't mean that it's organic. It doesn't mean that it's good for you. Okay? So are rocks something that we want to eat? It's natural. Is oil that you dig up from under the ground with that, or shale? Is that something that's good to eat? No, because it's not good for us. It's not, our bodies can't use it, but it's still natural, right? But it's not going to serve any kind of purpose for us. The key to look for is something that says whole food, and that means that they're found in untampered food. Okay, still containing all the biological and biochemical combinations and cofactors. Now, I want you to remember that food that is untampered, okay, and it has these things called cofactors and coenzymes. And here's the deal: organic is always better, and the reason that organic is better is because it doesn't have hormone disruptors. Okay, so what are hormone disruptors? They're called xenohormones. And so a xenohormone is something that is kind of like it's like a key, okay? So you have a lock, and on your lock, you put your key in and you turn it, and it goes in. Well, somebody else could have the same kind of key, like when you used to have keys to get into hotel rooms, they could all have the same kind of key, and the same key would fit in every door, but when you turned it, it wouldn't work. So xenohormones, what they are is it's a key that fits into the lock, but it won't turn. So your body, when you get exposed to like pesticides and herbicides in these foods that aren't organic, what they're going to do is they're going to take those spaces, and they're going to like taking a car space. Now, nobody can get in and get out. You can't get in and out of the door, but you got to get that key out of there. So that's what these xenohormones do, is they cause problems. When you look at organic food, according to Dr. Royal Lee, who was a genius, and I'm not going to get into everything that he did. He was actually a dentist, and he created standard process. And the reason he did it was his mom had I think it was breast cancer. She had cancer. And so he developed Catalin, which is a multivitamin made up of 14 different foods, and gave that to her, and somehow her cancer went away. That's the story that I remember getting. But here's the problem. We've got problems with the amount of minerals that we actually get in the food that is not, that is like your conventional food. So one of the stories that I've, the comments that have come through is that it takes, if you took one head of cabbage from 1900 and the amount of nutrients that are in that one head of cabbage would equal a whole pickup truck full of cabbage now. So that's how much everything is demineralized. And it talks about here how vegetables, there's a 33% decrease in vegetables, 17% in fruit, and 29% in meat. And this is over a 50-year period from 40 to 91. So the problem with the food that we get is there's so much stuff in the food, and when they make the food, what they do is they take the food, I say the food, when they make the, when they plant, the farmers are planting stuff, they're just constantly throwing minerals all over the soil to make them look pretty and look good, but it's really like what we call an empty harvest. It means that you're eating something that looks great, but it's really got no nutritional value to it. Rutgers had done a study, and they found that it was there was 330 times the nutrients in organic food than there was in conventionally grown food. So crystalline, if you take like a carrot, if you take a piece of food like a carrot or broccoli or whatever you take it, and you pour chemical solvents on it and heat it up and distill it down into one thing. So for example, with carrots, it would be beta carotene. Okay, if you took that one product out of carrots, that would be a crystalline vitamin. Okay, so there aren't any enzymes, there's no cofactors, it's just that one little piece. And so this slide kind of shows it. This is what you find in a carrot. But if you look where the arrow is, that's where beta carotene, that's beta carotene. So basically you're putting all these heating solvents and everything on it to get rid of everything that's in this carrot except for the beta carotene. And then our body is supposed to take that one tiny little crystalline product and use it. Now, synthetics, what they do is they take that crystalline product, okay, and they reconstruct it to try to make an exact duplicate of it. The problem is first of all, there is done in a lab, so it's not even something that you would eat because they're made from dead chemicals. But the other thing is that they're made in what's called a mirror image. So it'd be like if you took a glove and you put it on your right hand and it fit. Well, you could take that same glove and put it on your other hand, and it would fit, but it just wouldn't be right. Does that make sense? Now, here's the thing. When we look at ascorbic acid, and I'm going to show you the breakdown of this in a couple seconds here, but everybody knows ascorbic acid as vitamin C, okay? So the question is, do you know where vitamin C comes from when it's called ascorbic acid? Well, where it comes from is it comes from manufacturer in Nutley, New York, which is actually called Hoffman LaRoche. And what they do is they take corn syrup and they pour sulfuric acid on it. Now, does that sound like something that's would be real healthy for you to eat? Well, that's called ascorbic acid or vitamin C. Vitamin E, synthetic vitamin E. This one is going to come from your Eastman Kodak company, and it's a byproduct of their oil processing. I don't know that I really want to eat that. And then you get your vitamin B from coal tar, okay, from the Riley Tar and Chemical Company. So these vitamins that people are getting that are synthetic, and I'll show you how to understand whether they're synthetic or not, are really not food or any kind of nutrient. We talked about what is nutrition. Nutrition is food. So the two companies that own the two main companies that make these synthetic vitamins are Bayer and Pfizer, and they're making your one-a-days and your Centrums. Okay, so what you're doing is you're having a drug company make vitamins for you. Now, when you read the label, what you want to look for is acetate, bitartate, chloride, gluconate, hydrochloride, nitrate, succinate. These are all terms that tell you it's synthetic. So what you want to do is you want to look on your vitamin bottles that you're taking and see if any of this stuff is on there. So I told you before that when they take those synthetic vitamins, they make them from a crystalline type of a structure. If you look at where it says synthetic vitamins up at top, and for some reason I don't know if you can see my cursor or not here, but this top picture shows the synthetic vitamins. The bottom one shows a whole food vitamin that has that single little crystalline structure in it, but it's part of a whole group. So this is vitamin C complex, okay? This is, the ascorbic acid is on the outer layer. And we like to talk about this as being the banana peel or the eggshell. So that's ascorbic acid. What ascorbic acid does is it protects the products or the nutrients on the inside, the P factors, which are for permeability of capillary walls, the J factors for oxygenation of tissues, and the K factors, which carry the calcium to the bone. It also has your ascorbigen, which helps with pain and fibromyalgia, the tyrosinase, which helps vitamin C to be absorbed, and then you get your bioflavonoids, which prevent oxidation of vitamin C. They're anti-mutagenic, anti-carcinogenic, anti-aging, and they promote function and structure in circulatory system. So what that means is they make your blood vessels stronger. Okay, now this was really big if you were a guy who was a sailor, okay? So sailors before, what they did was they would be gone to sea and they weren't getting any kind of fruit, okay? So that's where the term limey came from, because these guys would all end up with scurvy. And what scurvy is that scurvy is a breakdown of the connective tissues of the body, the things that hold your body together. So it holds your teeth in and things like that. And what they would do to find out if these guys were at a point where it was too late or not, they'd lay them on the ground on the boat, and somebody would hold their shoulders, and somebody would take their feet and legs and they'd torque and twist them. And if they could hear grinding, then they'd say, okay, well, your joints are shot. You're pretty much no good to us anymore. And they'd either toss them overboard or let them die somewhere. So it was a horrible disease. And so it's really important that we are able to utilize all the nutrients, and if they are dead nutrients, then really we're not getting anything from it. Now, the next question is can you even absorb the stuff that you're taking, these synthetics? Now, if you look at this X-ray, you can see all these little white spots. You know what that is? That's undigested iron supplements. This guy was taking all kinds of iron supplements, and they weren't digesting. They were just sitting in his intestines, and they weren't digesting. And so again, when you're taking synthetic products, they don't always digest, and so you can't utilize them. Whereas when you use whole food products, that's a whole different product, and your body can utilize it. Now this guy here, his name is Dr. Svent Georgi, and he won the Nobel Prize. And what happened was after he won it for vitamin C called ascorbic acid. And he said ascorbic acid is vitamin C. Well, so one of his colleagues was having all kinds of problems of hemorrhaging, sorry, like their bleeding problem, okay? And so he said, oh, well, you need to take this ascorbic acid, but the guy was at a place that he couldn't take it. So he said, here, I'm going to send you some of this paprika because it's high in ascorbic acid, and let you do that. So he sent him the paprika, and the paprika healed this guy from all of his from his hemorrhaging. So of course he's like, wait, this is great. Well, then what happened was they started to take this ascorbic acid because he thought ascorbic acid was vitamin C, and they started to try to use it on these people with scurvy. And what they found is that none of the people with scurvy healed. In fact, they all got worse. So he contacted the Nobel Prize laureates, and he said, look, I was totally wrong. We can't utilize ascorbic acid as vitamin and call it vitamin C because it really is not vitamin C. I was totally wrong. And they said, well, everything's being made, and so it's too late and we're not going to do anything about it. So what I'd like to talk to you about now, and get off of that subject, and talk a little bit about synthetic vitamins more. So here's some studies, because everybody wants to know, well, give me the proof. So here's the first study. I've got 3 of them for you. This was done in the 90s, and they had 22,700 pregnant women. It was a four-year study, and what they were doing is they were giving them beta carotene, okay, and vitamin A, and it was all synthetic. And what they were giving them was either 10,000 or 20,000 IUs, and they found that there was either a 240 or a 400% increase in birth defects like heart valve problems, brain, cleft palates, heart malformations, all kinds of different problems. And so they had to stop the study because all these women were having babies that were birth defects. Another study that was done was on a bunch of guys who were smokers. Okay, and this was 18,000 of them, and they stopped this one after 21 months because they were giving them synthetic beta carotene, and they had a 37% increase in lung cancer and a 17% increase in heart disease. So here again, synthetic vitamins are causing some problems. This one is about vitamin C, ascorbic acid. Now, I told you guys that ascorbic acid was a problem, and they had a study where they took only 500 milligrams of ascorbic acid or vitamin C. Now, I can't have you, I guess I could. Anybody here, raise your hand if you're taking some kind of a vitamin C that says it's got 500 milligrams or more of ascorbic acid. If anybody's taken that, just raise your hand on the bottom of the thing. Okay, so we've got a couple. So here's the thing. When you are taking 500 milligrams of ascorbic acid, what it does to your body is it increases the thickness. Look at the bottom picture. It increases the thickness of the arterial walls. So if the blood is supposed to be coming through, look at the size of the hole in the one above and the size of the hole in the one below. It was a 250% increase in the thickness. And so what it was doing, it was essentially causing these guys to have plaqued up arteries. So they had to stop that study. In fact, if you look at the 40th annual conference on cardiovascular disease, epidemiology, and prevention that was in San Diego in the year 2000, the American Heart Association said, hey, vitamin C supplements can cause carotid atherosclerosis. So they knew about this, but nobody's doing anything about it other than, oh, hey, we're going to tell these docs, but that's all we're going to do. They didn't publish all kinds of stuff on it, which they should have. So when you're taking these synthetic vitamins, there's more than one way of taking them. Of course, you can take the pill form, but the other thing is in foods. So when you go shopping in the grocery store, what you want to do is you want to shop around the outer edge because that's where you got your foods. Now the stuff on the inside, what it has is it's boxes of stuff that's been sitting there for who knows how long. Well, how do they make those foods that can last? Well, what they do is they call it fortified. So they take everything that's good out of it. Anything. So in other words, anything that will spoil, like for example, wheat. Once you harvest wheat, you've got 10 days. Okay, and then all the wheat germ is no good. So it decreases 10% every day. So by the time you get to a week out, you've only got 30% left. So what they do is they take all of that wheat germ out and all the other nutrients that can go bad because, you know, they're food, and they spray on or fortify these foods, okay? So when you spray on these vitamins and minerals and cofactors, then, or not, I'm sorry, vitamins and minerals without cofactors, then the body is getting little pieces, parts to try and use. Now, I always like to say to people, look, this would be the same as me giving you $100 and you giving me $100 and me giving you $6 and change. Okay, now you've been fortified. So if anybody wants to be fortified, you can raise your hand, and I'll be happy to take your $100 and give you $6 and change. So another study. Here's a question that people had, like, should I take a multivitamin? And what the study found was, of course, yes, you should take a multivitamin. But what they didn't do is they didn't say what kind of multivitamin. And it's because it depends on the kind of multivitamin that you take. For example, here was a study that was done. Dr. Lee created standard process, but he was a dentist and he was an inventor, Lee Engineering. He invented, what do you call it? Radar for planes, okay? So that they could drop bombs from 30,000 feet where they're supposed to go. So he didn't want to do the vitamins. So what he did was he tried to sell it, to give it away. He didn't want to sell it. He wanted to give it away. But he had stipulations that if you're going to make these vitamins, then you have to do it the way that I'm going to tell you to do it, so that you can have all these vitamins, nutrients, cofactors, and all that together. So there was 3 different companies, and they did a study. So they took a multivitamin like Centrum, and then they took the Catalin. And what they did was they starved a bunch of rats, okay? So they starved them for 30 days. So group 1 got no food, group 2 got a synthetic after 30 days, group 2 got a synthetic multivitamin, and group 3 got the Catalin. So after 60 days, the first group was all dead because they hadn't had anything to eat. The second group, all they got was the synthetic multivitamins. They were actually 50% better, and the Catalin group was 25% better. Were you going to say, well, so why would I want to take Catalin? Wouldn't I want to take something synthetic? The next group, after 90 days, the first group was still dead. The second group was 100% better, and the Catalin group was only 50% better. Here's where the problem came in, and that's because at 120 days, the first group was dead and buried. The second group, taking the synthetic multivitamin, was all now dead. And the last group, taking the multivitamin called Catalin from standard process, was 75% better. So when you're feeding somebody food, they're going to heal, but not at an extremely fast rate, as opposed to like taking a drug. You know, we said they're made from Pfizer and Bayer, which is a synthetic vitamin. So when they took the synthetic vitamin, they got better faster, but then they died. And so the question is why did they die? Well, the reason that they died is because a synthetic vitamin would be like, remember we talked about taking that synthetic vitamin and using crystalline, a crystalline vitamin, making a copy of it and making it synthetic. So think about this. Vitamin C, ascorbic acid, would be like taking my watch and throwing it in a barrel and breaking it apart and only taking the battery out of it, and then swallowing the battery. And then the body says, oh, we've got a battery. So now we need to find a band, we need to find a clasp, we need to find some sort of a digital or gears, whatever kind of watch you're using. And so it takes parts from all kinds of different organ systems, and it makes a watch, and the body goes, oh yes, I got that watch, now I can do stuff. So now I've got that vitamin C and I can go. Well, the longer you keep doing that, the more you deplete your body, and it takes rats about 120 days to die. It takes cats about 2 years, dogs about 4 years, and people, well, I don't know. I can't answer that one. But the thing is with standard process, it's all cold processed, which means that they don't heat the food, okay? They only heat it up to about 90 degrees, but it's done at 28 atmospheres. So it's a high pressure cooker so that you don't damage or destroy any of the phytonutrients that are within the foods. It's MediHerb is all from Australia, and it's all, what do you call it, medical grade processing. So everything that's done is done without fillers, done without synthetics. And it's all high quality stuff, so your body can actually utilize it, and it actually helps you to heal. So when we talk about multivitamins, This general nutrition pack is a multivitamin of Catalin. It's a multi-mineral called trace minerals, and it's a omega-3, which is going to be your tuna oil. So you've got your oil, your nutrients, everything in one packet, and you can take one of these twice a day. It's a great general nutrition pack for people who are just looking for general nutrition. Now, if you're looking for more than that and you're looking to enhance organ systems that are weakened or diminished, then you have to go about it a whole different way. So I'd like to finish this up. I told you guys I wasn't going to keep you on long, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up for questions if you have them, and I'll if you raise your hand in a minute here, I'll let you ask me a question. All right, so to conclude, what you learned so far is that there is a difference between whole food, synthetic, and crystalline vitamins. Know what you're taking, okay? What kind of supplements are you taking? Make sure you know what you're taking. Do you want to take something that's made out of coal tar? Do you want to be enriched? Do you want to be fortified? Okay. Would it be better to eat a banana or the peel? Would it be better to eat the egg or the egg shell? Okay. It all depends on whether you're looking to eat the ascorbic acid or the whole vitamin C complex. Would you like to fare as the rats did? I doubt it, you know. So can taking vitamins kill you? Well, according to the studies, taking synthetic vitamins can. Okay, we saw that it caused birth defects. We saw that it increases the atherosclerotic aspect of the arteries. So can it kill you? Absolutely. But if you're taking whole food, organically grown, cold processed, standard processed stuff, unlike the rats that died, you're going to thrive. Okay, it may not be that it happens like in a couple of days where, wow, I've got this great high. I don't know if any of you have ever taken a synthetic multivitamin. You start taking it and wow, you feel great for the first month or so, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, I'm not noticing it anymore. I probably need to take more. So then you take more and you feel a little bit better, and then you start feeling crappy again, and that's what happens. So you're depleting your body. So that's why we take the whole food stuff. I want to thank you guys for showing up. I'm going to let you raise your hand now if anybody has a question, and